My name is Kelli Anderson. I'm an artist and designer and tinkerer. I like the subversive potential of design, that it could sneak in and pretend like it's a normal part of your day and then somehow disprove something very fundamental you believed about reality. I'm pretty open-minded about process. Part of the joy of working is the process, and so it's almost meta. Like, I try to get outside of the project and think about what it needs. There's definitely been cases where I've worked 300 extra hours on a project because I really want to push myself to learn something new. This was a paper animation for NPR.
You're gonna go down the street and you're gonna make a left?
They were doing a story about the unfair way that we judge women's voices when they're talking. I made 5 different drawings of different states of them opening and closing their mouth. I really like working with paper. A few years ago, I worked on this paper record player wedding invitation. We take paper for granted, and yet paper can do all of these amazing things. The main project that I'm working on right now is a pop-up book. I'm making these prototypes by hand. This is an early prototype for the planetarium. You kind of like slip a flashlight or your phone in there, and then it makes these constellations on the ceiling. So the process has been a lot of experimenting, because not only do the pop-ups have to function, they also have to work as objects that claim to do certain things. And so there's all of these interactive, almost like product design considerations. We're getting down to the wire now, but it's gonna happen. I rapidly jump back and forth between the digital world and the physical world in my work. A lot of that is just like understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both worlds. And so if I want to know how a pop-up is actually going to work, I have to build it. And then I would deconstruct those shapes, scan them into the computer, trace them again in Illustrator. This layer here is the glue layer, and basically I've color-coded it so the corresponding pieces that are supposed to be glued together are similar colors. And then I basically could hit cut and it would cut it out on the little cutter plotter. Russ & Daughters is this 100-year-old, truly New York business. After 100 years of having the shop where people come in and get to-go food, they decided that they wanted to make a sit-down restaurant. And they realized quite quickly that they needed a designer to come in and come up with a visual identity.
Kelli was the right person to work with on this project because the way that she designs is that attention to history, that attention to detail. And more often than not, those solutions are so magical. We went to the New York Public Library to see if there were any maps, if there were any photos.
We had all of these ideas for how we could use their visual history in interesting ways. We carried over the light boxes from their original store and put them in the space. We created custom wallpaper for the bathrooms made out of patterns with sesame seeds and take-a-number tags.
Everyone who's ever gone to Russ & Daughters has taken the take-a-number and stood there and held it, and it's part of the Russ & Daughters vernacular.
When you do research, it's a way to get beyond your preconceived notions about what something is and get to like what is actually interesting and real and idiosyncratic about your subject matter. Like their weird fish that they have for a logo. I spent a lot of time with that fish. We tweaked some things about it, like the eye socket, and finessed the fins a little bit to be more harmonious with the curves and the R. The writer Calvin Trillin had saved this bag from 1950 and had given it back to them 50 years later as a gift. We traced all of the type in Illustrator. And then we realized that we could actually recreate these bags according to the original process by which they were made the first time. Here you can see that we used like a real piece of wood, and so there's some interesting things happening. There is this myth of the lone designer sitting at their computer orchestrating the universe, and I think the most fulfilling projects are the projects that are collaborations that actually work out.
I was thinking it would be pretty awesome if the top of the sandwich were clear.
Having other people there is great because then you're inviting even more randomness into your process and into your work, and you're not exactly sure what that's going to bring. Curiosity definitely drives me. A lot of times, I hope to achieve a certain result, but I'm totally happy if it works out a different way as long as I get to learn something along the process, especially if I can showcase that knowledge and that curiosity and that process and somehow give the viewer that same sort of experience. I feel like it allows people to engage with it in a totally different way. I kind of want to take it like 80% of the way there, but not make a statement that I'm beating you over the head with. I want to make it somehow interactive and fulfilling for the people I'm presenting it to as well. A lot of my work is kind of risky and experimental, at least, financially. It's more interesting that way. I feel like it's a better way to live a life is to not know exactly what's coming, but make decisions honestly and make decisions due to your own curiosity and volition. And I think if you do that, people will follow you.